Here.
LaCroix.
Here.
Mesco.
Here.
Parkinson.
That is a quorum. It's your second pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, if I could have a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll move. Second.
Are there any questions?
Mesco.
Aye.
Strack.
Aye.
Mack.
Aye.
Weedman.
Aye.
LaCroix.
Aye.
Parkinson.
Motion carries. Public comments. Is that a word?
Pretty much.
Oh, okay.
A lot of questions already.
Turned out the principal of the school is right behind you?
Yeah.
Pretty sweet deal there, right there. Okay. No problem. Board reports, if anyone has anyone they'd like to chat about.
Curriculum committee is, well, it's just me on it now, but we invite other people who might be interested. I'm impressed with the smoothness. Things seem to be going. Well, smoothness is not the right word. It's a constant going forward, and the time that we're giving them, we are allotting for late arrival and those kinds of things is really being utilized well, I think. And things are going well. The review of the park results are first going to be addressed by someone at the Regional Office of Education. There's a plan in place for individual buildings to do their own review and come up with ideas for what they want to do differently and what they want to keep doing the same way. Those are the main things. The things that we covered. We look at PLC, what's going on with them. We were given a report about the PLCs last June and everything that's there. Things are moving and things are, I think, moving well.
Yep, the diversity committee launched a series of meetings this week to introduce what we have been doing over the past year to teachers and staff. And the committee, each committee member has taken a couple of different times during the week to go into the schools and meet with the teachers and staff initially to give an update on what we've done for the past year that I've shared with you guys before, and solicit feedback and comments about possible next steps and good projects to go forward for the diversity committee. So I was at, where was I on Monday? I was at GMS on Monday morning, and I'll be here again at Park on Friday morning, and then the other committee members are staggered throughout each of the schools at different times so that we have a chance to talk and start introducing it to the teachers and staff as our first step. So it seems to be very well received so far, what we've been
I've heard
working on.
a lot of positive comments. Stephanie has done one as well.
Yes, yep.
And then today, Megan Lavery and what did Michael Berry. I always call him the wrong name first. They were at Woodview, and it looked to me like most of the staff attended that. So
It
was very good.
yes, good.
Good news. Thank you.
Alan, Chris, and Stephen and I were able to meet with Senator Bush last week to talk about what was going on at the state level as far as budgets and mandated stuff that they were pushing down on us with pensions and everything else. So we were trying to gauge what else is going to be coming our way. We talked about pension reform. We talked about sales tax type of stuff that might be coming. Kind of all sorts of things. We were there about a little over an hour. Chris had probably 99% of the questions about the budget. So I think he got a good feel of what's going to be happening as we were going along. So it was nice at least to sit down and talk to her. She was very receptive.
I know it took us a while to get that set up.
Yeah.
Glad it happened.
In your weekly update, I've mentioned a couple times about the possibility of us doing a enrollment projection As it turns out, the high school district is also wanting to use the same person that I had suggested, because we used him before, Dr. John Casarda. If both districts do use him, he will reduce the cost, because he'd be here for both districts. If we had just enrollment projections for the district itself, it would be $4,900. If we, which we need to do, have them by a combined district and individual schools report. And I can't see doing just the district without knowing what was going to happen in each of the buildings. It'd be $8,400. So he would come to present to the board, but that's an additional travel expense between San Diego and here. So I think that if we could get the report, we could probably report out on our own. I think that it's something we need to look at, but certainly I'm open to any suggestions or questions from the board about this.
How soon would you think you want to do it?
He would be able to do it quickly. Let me see, I thought I got a date in here. Let me see, but he said he could do it soon.
Did you say what the price break would be?
He got $500 off each of us.
So those, the 4,900 and 8,400.
Yeah, so the 84 would be the whole, yes, the 8,400 would be the total for the district and each of the buildings. Of course, when we did this before, we didn't have parking.
Well, it seems to me this is very fortunate, this timing, because it'd be much less practical to have two different people come in and deal with the high school and then the elementary level. So this is fortuitous that these calendars come together like this.
And this is not something that we can do on our own, or is it?
I don't think we can. I mean, to be as I mean, he was pretty close with those projections before. I don't think we can.
It's tougher at the elementary level, just because you don't have, it's difficult at both of them. Obviously, the high school level has numbers of kids coming from each of the buildings, where now we're looking at birth rates and things like that throughout our boundary line. So it would take a very, very long time, and I'm not sure how accurate it would be for somebody trying it for the first time.
I know he was, the projections he had were certainly in pretty close range to what we ended up with, so the results that we got were reasonable.
Well, very important long-range decisions and continuance of what we're doing need to be based on numbers that we think are as accurate as they can be. And I don't think we have any business trying to do this on our own.
Well, I don't think there's anyone in the district that's trained to do this with. So, I mean, it's under 10,000.
Right. So that, but I didn't want to go out there if we didn't want to support it. I think it's worth the $8,400 to, especially in conjunction with the high school. This is great that it could all be.
Yeah,
done at
no,
one time.
that's
That's one of the first times we worked with the high school on something like this.
Yeah, no, that's good. So do we have consensus to proceed on that?
Great, thank
Okay,
you.
sure.
The National School Board Association meeting is April 7th through 9th in San Antonio, and a couple of you have expressed interest, and I think we have to approve that. Is that our travel?
I'd have to look. I
Yeah,
think so.
I think so,
The policy,
yeah.
but yeah, that's, yeah.
So, should we put that on the next agenda? I think Tom, Kathleen is interested, and David, and with David, I asked CDOL if they pay half,
Oh, yeah.
and they said yes.
Oh, okay.
So and I don't know if anybody else is interested, but,
I'll check the dates.
okay.
Would it be possible to have some estimate of just
Sure.
the ballpark of the
Yep,
cost?
I'll put it in we'll get it in the weekly update so you can see that.
The date is the week after Easter,
Yeah.
the end of the week.
Okay, and I'll look into that and give you the facts, and then we can put it on the next agenda.
All righty.
That's all I have.
Okay.
Committee?
Pardon?
Finance committee?
Oh, you know what? I wrote it down in it. It's your turn.
Based on some of the projects that we have going up, especially with the solar project, the size of the project, the amount that we're gonna actually have to borrow, I'm looking to put together, or we're looking to put together a finance committee, just so we have a couple of people in the room, at the very least a couple of people in the room. I've already contacted somebody who's looking at different debt structures, who's willing to come out to the committee as well. So I'm just looking for some volunteers for the committee, and then we can put together some dates, and that would be great.
I'll do it.
I would like to be part of that. How many you want?
What's that?
How many do you want?
As many as that want to be there. Three? Three's good?
I can.
We'll have to post the meeting then. That's all.
What's that?
Have to post the meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, the meeting will be posted.
I'd like to add on about the National School Board meeting. I attended one when it was here in Chicago, and I really recommend you seriously consider it, because in a month, we'll be down in Chicago itself, and we'll be seeing what's going on in the districts in the state. But in our position, I think it's wise to, if we can do this, as many people as possible, see what's going on throughout the whole country and why do they do things, or why don't they do things, and believe me, it broadens your perspective. So I would say seriously consider it.
It's in San Antonio, right?
Yeah. And we really do need to make a decision within the next couple of weeks, because the hotels will fill
Yeah.
up, just like they do for III.
Yeah.
So,
And registration just opened today, is that right?
yes.
Anything else? Okay. If I could have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, including the personnel addendum.
Second.
Are there any questions?
Parkinson,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Strack,
Aye.
Masco,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Weedman.
Aye.
Motion carries. We only have one action item. If I could have a motion to approve the Park Campus 10-year Health Life Safety Survey.
Oh,
Second. Any questions? This was the required
Mhm.
survey that we have to do every 10 years? So, okay.
Weedman,
aye.
Masco,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Parkinson, LaCroy,
Aye.
Strack.
Aye. Motion carries. Copier proposals. We have the proposals from the vendors that have agreed to give us some quotes. They're all fairly comparable at this point in time. There's a couple of different structures, the way things are set up. What we're gonna do is we're having 2 machines from vendors that we've never used before delivered to one of the buildings tomorrow, and I think it's gonna be up and running on Friday, and they'll be able to use it for a week. So we'll get some experience on those machines. And then another company, we're gonna go down and visit their demo room. They weren't able to actually get something here in time, so the tech team's gonna go down and take a look at those machines. And we're gonna, this go round, price is gonna be obviously the overriding factor, but we're also looking at quality of machine, speed and so forth. So I'm gonna take it to the tech team after we've gone through the demonstrations, and we'll all get together and we'll come up with a recommendation for the board at the next meeting. Okay.
Is this replacing half and then possibly the print center, or are we gonna keep the print center?
Print Center's still there, still under contract. This would be Meadowview, Prairie View, Park Campus, and the district office. Those machines are all coming due.
When does the print center contract up?
That one is up, we did a 3-year with a 2-year option on top of that, so that one's not up for another, I believe we just did that one last year, didn't we, with Rico? So we've got 2 more years on that.
The 3 principals there, I'm curious, what, in general, what is the teacher attitude? What are their feelings about how the print services are going as of now?
Print services, I think, from the print center itself are fine.
Yeah.
The machines that we currently have, I couldn't compare them to anything else, but they break down and get repaired, and sometimes it takes a little longer, other times it's more, the response is quick, it just sometimes takes longer to fix. But from the print center, I think, it's here in my building, so I think they're very happy.
What's not to like?
Ms. Morgan, you want to add in?
I'd say very similar to what Mr. Malamed said. The print center is not in our building, but it does seem to be working quite well. now. There are times where we send a lot, August as school's getting started. I think the district as a whole sends quite a bit. Turnaround time sometimes can be tricky, but once we're up and running, we're really getting everything back quite quickly.
Print Center is the more reliable of the two options right now. Turnaround time's pretty good. As Mrs. Morgan said, that's the beginning of the year. The copiers in our buildings are less reliable as they break down quite often, and we have service techs out there quite a bit, so I'm interested to...
It just so happens that 3 principals of the buildings are, contracts are coming up and.
Yeah, that's right.
The machines that are in the buildings, I don't remember from when the contract started, but were they new when the deal started?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
How do you put it? New, refurbished, new parts,
Oh, okay.
New to us.
new to us.
I thought they were all new. They weren't new?
I don't.
They,
We
they
didn't-
have a term that makes it sound like they're,
We didn't buy refurb
No,
equipment for the
we didn't.
Xerox. They were brand new
are you sure?
when they were put
Yeah.
in, yeah.
I thought there was a term that they used that sounds like new, that tricks you into thinking that they're new. You could be right. I mean, I can check on that and make
They
sure.
they don't have a pre-owned term, okay.
Gently used.
So
There you go.
No,
Well, what makes me think they were new is they didn't have that model before.
Oh,
Like
well,
that was a brand new
that'll
model
answer
that
that
had come
question
out.
then.
So, the ones that are failing quite often, are those the ones that are 4 or 5 years old now?
Those are the oldest ones that we have in there. So yeah, this was the first contract that we did. We started with these buildings here, so.
And
They're 3 years old.
have the problems accelerated in frequency, or has it always been pretty even as far as, like when we first got the machines, were there problems then, or is it just more recently as they've gotten older?
As they get older, the frequency of having the techs come out, and then Vince has experienced some difficulty where the tech has come out and blamed it on something else, and then had to come out again and blamed it on something different, and so that has been a recent issue over at Prairie View.
And it'd be good to know which company that is.
That's the Xerox with
Okay.
the COTG.
Then perhaps we need to look closely at their customer service. And maybe look at shorter contracts. Machines replaced more frequently.
Both of those are part of it.
So,
I have them doing 3 years and 5 year deals. Again, you should be able to get 3.
Yeah.
With a brand new machine, you should be able to get 5. So,
So will that be ready to bring to the board at the next, the recommendation, the first look?
no, this will be the action item.
Okay, the action.
I'm just saying, let's make sure we get all the input we can from the users, because there's nothing quite a morale killer as doing things the right way, planning in the right time, and then the machine breaks down.
Right.
All the proposals, they have references that they've given, so we're gonna take a look at those references. Now, take that for what it's worth. You're not really gonna put down a reference where you think you're gonna get a bad review, but,
not unless you're really bad at what you do.
you know, I was actually thinking about, instead of trying to call the administration, just to call buildings direct, because those offices will know if there's been complaints. I think it's a lot smoother than, you know, a company that said, will you give me a reference? Sure, I'll give you a reference, and trying to call that individual.
I have a secretary called secretary. Need to get what's really going on.
Yeah.
And Chris, for my edification, the print center is essentially located shared service that all the buildings can use, and they send their print jobs off-site. And
Yeah,
tell me a little bit more about it.
the print center located here at Prairie View,
Park.
or Park, yeah, here at Prairie View. What we try to have with the print center is a 24-hour turnaround, and now it depends what time the job goes in. Sometimes it's gonna be 48 hours if something's in a little bit later in the day, but we have one individual who works for the company, which is Rico. He's not our employee who staffs the print center. And every time he gets a job, he's the one that feeds it through these production machines. And then he'll go ahead and package it up, and we've got deliveries once a day as well, so we'll have deliveries twice a day. See, Prairie View. Prairie View once a day.
I think it's once a month. It used to be twice a year.
No, I think it's twice, because we have stuff in the morning, but I believe Matt comes out and the plate also comes
Debate.
out. Definitely between 1 and 2. Somewhere between.
Somewhere in there.
1.5.
These can be emailed, they prefer either email or the,
They have a digital storefront
Right.
where it's a website at the machine. They can submit those jobs through the digital storefront. And the print center is the only way you can get color in the district. Otherwise, all of the machines out of the buildings are black and white.
And in terms of usage, it's almost 50/50.
It is,
Versus,
it's about 50/50. To truly utilize the print center, you have to be organized and get your prints back. And so I think if you get caught in a last minute situation, then you're forced to the machines in the building. And if they're broken down, that causes a frustrating day.
That's where the sign came from that says lack of planning on your part does not make a emergency on my part.
that's good.
Okay, so that'll be an action item at the next meeting? Sorry? All right. New business? First on the list is the review of the committee norms and the board agreements.
So in your board packet, there are the board agreements that we agreed on August 18th, under unity of purpose, behavior, concerns from the community, and on and on. And then from Paul, you've got what he uses with his teams. So obviously there's a little bit of difference because we're talking about curriculum writing and that type of thing. So these are the two that we brought for you to look at.
Did anyone have any initial thoughts? I'll speak at once.
No, sorry. I thought this was good. As far as the new members coming on and getting a chance to review this, as far as the board agreements from 2016. And then, I think, yeah, Paul's is a little bit more general. But I definitely appreciated this, and I just think it's good for all of us to have a reminder as we're in our meetings and working in committees.
And I think it's a good starting point if anyone has any suggestions for any changes they might have. I don't personally, but if anyone has any suggestions, we can certainly discuss them. I know that we used to, for a while, we had the laminated copies of the board agreements out, which I don't know if we need to do that again, but periodically taking a look at it to remind ourselves what they are is certainly a good idea. So I'm glad that at least we had the chance to review them again for people who've forgotten about them.
We could make them part of the board packets each week, just that'd be a standing document in there so that we could always.
Yeah, that's not bad. Yeah, I mean, that's easy to do.
I like it as far as being a part of the meetings too, because there are other people who are at the meetings, community, parents might be involved in the meetings.
Mhm.
So I think it's good.
Could we have just a handful of copies available if anyone wants to take one? Keep using them from meeting to meeting, nobody takes them. Maybe do that as well. And, yeah, so, okay. Any other comments on that, anyone?
I think to Kathleen's point, as a new board member, the newest board member, it was nice to see these written down, and it was helpful for me to think about these things. And I like the idea of them being part of the board packet each week, and just, there, as kind of a guidepost for us to keep in mind. After a while, it's August 18th, it's almost, it's been a year. That's my birthday, August 18th too, so I like the fact that that's going to be memorialized in the board packet.
Absolutely,
Yeah, that's what we were going for, so, okay.
Everything for you, Jason.
In January, when we meet with the new IASB person, we'll be going over these again, so if there's anything that's part of her job is to review those and see if we need to make any changes.
I'd like you to just keep in mind to keep the August 18th date on there.
I will.
Adopted August 18th,
January.
amended on.
Yes.
So what you're saying
I
is
recommend.
August 18th is.
August 18th. That's the most important part of the statute.
I'll scratch it on your car hood when I.
Now, that's a fantastic idea.
Seriously, there's there are many things in there that were good, but one thing that struck me, that really ties into a school. The statement was, let's say you have a question and you ask a principal about it, you see them and you get an answer, and you're happy. Well, why not say to the whole board the next time we get together, I had this question about something or other, and I got this answer, this is what we do. So then we all have, because we probably had the same question in some form. Otherwise, you don't have little tete-a-tetes between individuals and the sex don't know what's going on. Anyway, it's written in there, and I thought that was kind of neat.
I noticed that too.
Anything else? All right. The 2017 Resolutions Committee for IASB Delegate Assembly.
I had just sent in the weekly update a couple that I wanted to make sure
Mhm.
you looked at. One was the student safety and protection, and I certainly do not recommend that we all carry guns. And the ISB did not either. The 1% sales tax that was financing public education, I know we've talked about this around the table as a board, looking at that potential. However, IASB recommends to not adopt, so I don't know what your feelings were, Stephen, is.
My feelings are that it's a good idea. Part of the reasoning for not wanting it was some incremental loss of local
Right.
control, but I don't know, I don't see that as being an issue. We have limited local control already as far as how we can raise money. And it's very unlikely that 108 counties in the state are going to pass individually their own sales taxes, which is what happened in Iowa. Each county passed it first, and then the state passed a law to do the sales tax statewide, or to require it statewide. And part of the reasoning it was that not all the counties have passed it yet. Well, that's not going to happen. But that doesn't eliminate the need of school districts for money for what this would go for, which is facilities tax. It's a facilities tax, is what it is. So, but yeah, no, I disagree with the ISP on this one in particular. We'll see how it goes with the delegate assembly, but my guess is they'll have a pretty good discussion about it.
It would, in my opinion, it would provide us with the ability to have income coming in that would not have to be put on property taxes of, the homeowners and everybody else around. It's a way to generate funds that would be able to be built up to build a school or do a new roof and not having to go out to bonds and not having to go out to, finance it. It would save the taxpayers money as far as on the property taxes in the long run. I kind of agree with Stephen. Almost half the counties in Illinois have already passed it. It's almost at the tipping point where it should go statewide. I think the answer should be yes, not no. That's me.
I tend to agree with that position too, as it's a consumptive tax as opposed to some taxes on someone's, their nest egg, basically. And this will be written elsewhere besides this body, but I'm interested to see how it turns out.
Otherwise, I was in favor of the rest of their positions, but that's the only one that I disagree with. So unless if everyone else feels kind of the same way, then we have consensus on that, and I'll vote as such on each one at the assembly. Okay. ISC roofing project.
Yes, we need to put a roof. The shoes are not holding up very well. I was hoping to get another year out of it. I'm kind of coming to you guys, as it stands I'm looking to have labor, like I asked, WeatherGuard, what it would cost to have their guys put the roof on and us pay for the shingles. He's at $12,200 for labor. Villa Haas is at $7,800 for labor. Shingles are approximately $4,100 for the shingles for both the garage and the house. Villa Haas just got his price in, so I mean, he's under the $10,000 mark, but I priced him that way with us doing the shingles ourselves, because Sam said he was that small a job, he goes, any roofing company's gonna mark up the shingles, versus when we did the middle school. So I'm coming to you guys looking for a nod so we can get it done by the end of this month, or the first part of, first week in November. So that's what we're up to with the roof on the ISC.
So what's bringing a few leaks?
That's a building.
I did. Yeah, no, but I mean, what's the estimate for the cost? The low end?
Villa House would be about 11.5.
Okay.
That's total with the.
Total, that's us buying the shingles and him supplying the labor.
Doesn't need any gutters or anything like that either? or-
I'll look at doing over the entrances, but for the most part, there aren't that many gutters on it now. There's trees around it, so it doesn't erode.
Right.
But that's the flashing around the chimney, the vent for the toilet, that's a complete roof.
Yeah.
Is what I got the price for, once I get the material list from Home Depot.
Just wondering, would any of our guys want to do that for a little extra money? We pay them, with supervision, of course.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Even I can
values on
shingle
it, I
a roof.
could ask. I
I'd
don't
prefer
think
to-
so.
I'd prefer to have somebody who's, I mean, if there is somebody on staff who's experienced at it,
Right.
fine, but if not.
I would prefer it more for the warranty, having a contractor do it versus us.
I mean, it's not a very big roof. How big is
The house is about 2,500 square feet, so give or take, I believe that in the garage are right around 3,100 square feet, 3,150. The biggest thing that kills us is we gotta use union labor or prevailing wage.
Yeah. Chris, what are your thoughts?
I knew it was coming. I just didn't think it was coming this soon, but, that particular area has provided a few challenges for us, and this is something that I think we need to do. In the grand scheme of things, you know, I always put the unintended in the budget. Last year, we had a couple heaters go down. I've kind of chalked this up to one of those, and hopefully it doesn't continue on this way with other pieces of equipment, or
Would that be a action item next time then, we need to vote on it, or?
it would be under,
It's
because we
under
do, yeah, Home Depot would be a certain amount. What did you say, 4,100?
Yeah, roughly.
Something like that. The Villa would be 7,900, so we wouldn't necessarily need it for action.
Do we have consensus to proceed with the roof then? That's fine.
Thank you.
Thank you. Topics for future agenda items.
So right now, we have the discussion about the NSBA in April, an action item regarding the copiers.
Bring point of sale system for
Oh, yeah.
review, discussion.
Well, you have, how many are you looking at?
I've seen two, and I called up a third vendor to come in. I've probably called the most popular, and then the system that we use. Obviously, I want them to be in because it'd be nice to have everything under one central system that talks to one another. And then we've got one with another system that we use. I talked to our, I don't know what technically she is. Britt's our regional manager.
Yeah.
And she tells me, you know, with a few hiccups here and there, you know, most of them are fantastic. They're all kind of the same. They're all kind of priced the same. So it just depends how you want to set it up. They've got different ways of scans or keypads and things like that.
Anything else next time?
No, but for right now, that's it.
I'm sure we'll come up with something.
And, I actually have two. Discussion on busing, on that
Update on the
change.
transportation, sure.
On that potential change, and then the other one is, the adequacy funds that are coming in.
Mhm.
Maybe start having a discussion on how we're going to use those funds and what we can actually use them for. So
Okay.
obviously, they can't just go into the general budget. They have to be used for specific things, so at least we can start trying to align what those 27 essentials are versus our priorities that we came up with a couple years ago, and see how we can mesh those two things together.
Is it 24 now, though?
It's
No.
24.
Do we know what 3 they eliminated?
One was all-day kindergarten, but that formula is still in there, it's just not a specific item. And I don't know what the other 2 are, but
So oddly enough, you see 24, but even when you see 24, some people will say 26, some people will still say 27. You know, because there's like a 24A and a 24B, and
right.
we've got the list though.
Yeah, just something that we can start trying to align how we can start utilizing those new funds that are coming in for maybe even possibly next school year. So we can try and move forward with that. That might check some of those, wish lists off.
Yeah.
Been wanting to do.
No, and it's something that we're gonna, obviously we have to think about, because we're gonna have to be accountable for it, and we're gonna have to report to the state how everything was spent.
By building.
It's better to start now than start later.
Stop reminding me.
Will this help you as far as budgeting? You know, just how each of the categories has to go to a specific place for a specific building,
For most of the stuff,
or does it just complicate things for you?
for most of the stuff right now, we are specific to each building.
Yeah.
There are certain things that are district-wide, and it'll be interesting to see exactly what they will allow us to keep district-wide, and what's gonna be turned over to each building, which might make things more difficult.
And that won't start till 18-19 next year. I mean, this year we're not gonna
Right.
have to do that, yeah. I mean, we potentially could get the money in January, but,
That's what we're saying, yeah. Hopefully, we should know by December.
Okay.
but it's good to get that conversation going.
Yeah.
At least
No,
that we-
absolutely, because the sooner we get that going,
Yeah, whatever we do, as long as when we're presenting it, we have our 2 lists of what we can spend it
Yep.
on, and what, like our wish list
Whatever,
was.
yes, mhm.
I shouldn't say wish list.
No, it was our priority.
Our priorities.
Yep.
priorities.
Yep.
So we can see what lines up and what we can kind of take off the list.
Absolutely.
And keep in mind, this is also a good opportunity to educate the community as well.
Right.
So whenever we're presenting this stuff, make sure we're clear about what we're talking about.
Mhm.
Anything else? All right. We do need a closed session, so
Yes.
if I could have a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to the sections of the Open Meetings Act listed in the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Parkinson,
Aye.
Mesco,
Aye.
Mack,
Aye.
Strack,
Aye?
Weedman.
Aye.